What's up, everybody? It's your boy Joey Work. I'm back. I got a friend with me. My guy DC's in the house. Obviously, the guy, the baseball savant. We did chop it up at the Run Pure get together a couple of weeks ago. Figured let's do some baseball division previews. So here we are. Hope all is well. DC, what's going on, buddy?
Not a lot. Baseball season finally here. What is it? Pretty much 72 hours before the start of opening day. I've been grinding for a while in the MLB streets for sure. Season long, of course, preparing for DFS. So rare. All kinds of things going on with MLB for me, and I've been ready for what feels like a month, honing the craft and ready to talk some baseball and ready for baseball to start. Man, I couldn't be more excited. My favorite sport, favorite time of year. Ready to get going.
Hell yeah, same. My voice is a little gone, but we're here. Very excited as well for baseball. Be here before we know it. So the plan today is to do American League East Division preview, and then for the next couple of days, we'll be dropping the rest of American League Division previews day by day until the season starts. So we'll start with the AL East here. My repeat performance, maybe a little biased, is the New York Yankees. Obviously, the rotation a little bit in shambles to start here with Carlos Rondon, Luis Severino, and Nestor Cortes all hurt to start the season. Obviously, we know Frankie Montas is out the entire year as well, but Garrett Cole will be back. He did have his highest ERA in his career last year, or his last 5 years was last year. I think Clark Schmidt will likely start game 2 of the season. Yep. I do really like him, and Domingo Germán will likely get a lot of starts. So they do have, still solid 3-4 guys that'll until Nestor gets back, because I think Nestor will only miss maybe his first start. Nestor was amazing last year. Obviously, he throws in the low 90s, but he ERA 1.95 and 15 starts in New York Yankee Stadium. The bullpen, I do like a lot. Clay Holmes will likely be the starter. 77% ground ball rate last year. Jonathan Loaizaga here for season 2 after Tommy John. The guy, he looked really, really good last year. Throws a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Michael King, Ronnie Marciano, Tommy Kahnle, all will get innings. Wandy Peralta, another guy, I got to mention Wandy. He might have been the best reliever in baseball. Best reliever for this team for sure, and definitely the one that Aaron Boone trusted the most. He pitched 102 games last year, 2.82 ERA. Lineup should look a lot like last year's with, as I wrote down, with fingers crossed, Anthony Volpe. But as we heard yesterday, he'll be in the lineup. So I'm pretty excited about that. Aaron Judge back. Anthony Rizzo struck out 100 times last year, most since 2018. So he did have success with the short porch and right. I think he'll be a little better. Giancarlo Stanton, I don't expect him to play the field at all. And I'm even watching him running in spring training. It was not very pretty, that's for sure. But he'll DH. He hit 30 home runs last year in only 110 games. So another repeat performance of that. I'm pretty happy. Then Oswaldo Cabrera, they're working him out in center field now. So this guy basically plays everywhere on the defensive end. Rest of the lineup, Josh Donaldson, who's actually been swinging a pretty hot bat in spring ball. And then Gleyber Torres. Harrison Bader obviously starts on the IL, but DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Hicks, Jose Trevino. This team did win 99 games last year. Maybe hard to repeat, but they're plus 130 to win the AL East. Maybe, if you're into that, I don't think there's enough value there. Over 93.5 is their total, which doesn't really make sense to me after they won 99 games last year. They're playing more games outside of the division this year. As we know, they changed the rule a little bit. So I definitely lean the over, and now they have the addition of Rondon, so whenever he gets back in the rotation. So I think they will be a little better. What is your thoughts on the Yankees this year, Trev?
Yeah, I guess sorry to say, Joey, I'm a little concerned about this team headed into the year for a number of reasons. I mean, if you look at the starting lineup, like the Yankees do have several players I'm excited about, but if you look at the starting lineup, it's really old. I mean, the ages for these guys, DJ LeMahieu's 34, Judge almost 31, Rizzo 33, Giancarlo 33, Donaldson's 37, Hicks is 34, hasn't done anything in a while. Trevino's 30. Pinning a lot of hopes on Anthony Volpe, who I do have very high hopes for. I just tweeted earlier today, one bet I really like is him to lead MLB in steals. You can get that at DraftKings at plus 2,500, 25 to 1 on that. Stole 50 bases in the minor leagues in, I think, 130 games. Last year went 50 for 57. That was obviously playing with the new rules. Those that aren't aware, going to really benefit base stealers this year. We should see those up around 25% in general. Volpe has already proven he can kind of take advantage of that rule because those were in place in the minor leagues last year. So I like that bet. I like Volpe to have a good year, but that lineup is aging. I think kind of big question marks around several of those guys. I mean, who knows how many games Stanton, Donaldson, Hicks, Rizzo, Rizzo's got a kind of a chronic bad back that he's dealing with. And, I know Aaron Judge has been fantastic these last 2 years, but even him, he's on the wrong side of 30. And, prior to the last couple of years, he had injury problems himself. LeMahieu had injury problems last year. So I'm just a little bit worried this lineup is kind of aging out of their prime all at the same time. You go to the rotation, I mean, big signing from Carlos Rodon, but he's had a history of injuries. He's already on the IL with a forearm strain, which sounds like he should be okay. But, I mean, that's the precursor injury to Tommy John surgery. I mean, it just is. It's certainly a concern with him. Nestor Cortez, again, awesome last year, but also kind of out of nowhere, right? I would expect him to take a step back, to be honest. Domingo Germán's just okay. Clark Schmidt's the guy that I really do like. I'm excited to see him pitch in the Yankees rotation. He added a new cutter this spring. Really good stuff. But, again, he's unproven, right? I mean, he's 27 years old and hasn't cracked a rotation yet. And then, of course, Garrett Cole. He's an absolute beast. I would expect him to continue to be one of, if not the best pitchers in baseball. But so you got question marks, in my opinion, with the starting lineup, with the starting rotation. The strength of this team last year was the bullpen, right? Like Aaron Judge kind of carried the offense all year long, but that's the least sticky thing from year to year, right? We see bullpen pitchers kind of go up and down all the time. Like, yes, by the projections, this is certainly one of the best bullpens in baseball, but that's kind of the least reliable thing. I mean, we see bullpens jump from 25th in the league to 5th in the league the next and vice versa. Again, I do expect them to be very good, but Clay Holmes was a guy that kind of came out of nowhere and did kind of fall apart a little bit down the stretch. So, yeah, when you kind of combine the three things, I do have concerns about this team. I think plus 130 is way too high, and I'll take the under on the 93.5 for the Yankees. Maybe they can hold it together one more year, but this core is no question aging right now. They do have some young talent, led by Volpe, of course, but I'm not sure it'll be enough. So, yeah, I'm kind of lower on the Yankees, I guess, than most.
Okay, yeah, that's why we're on here. I like that.
Yeah.
So next team I have is the Rays. You want or the Blue Jays? You want to do the Blue Jays first?
Yeah, they're the next highest listed team to win the division. So yeah, let's do them.
Cool.
So the Blue Jays, I would pick them over the Yankees. If you compare their young core to the Yankees' young core, this is a team with mostly, young position players. Yeah, Springer's a little bit older, but Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero, I think they're two best hitters firmly in their prime. I love Alejandro Kirk at catcher. He's 24. They traded for Dalton Varsho, who I think is going to be only an outfielder for them. He did play a lot of catcher coming up and for the Diamondbacks, but they got him partly for his defensive capabilities in center field, added Kevin Kiermaier as well, who will hit ninth, but a really good defensive center fielder. Whit Merrifield, Matt Chapman, good defense. So really good defense all around. Really, really strong lineup. I think a lineup that is, frankly, much better than the Yankees lineup and much more likely to stay healthy, too. And then the rotation looks pretty good to me. Alek Manoah will start opening day. He's kind of the headliner. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take a little bit of a step back. I do think he pitched over his head just a little bit, but still, good young starter. Rounded out with Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, who had an awful year last year, but I do expect him to bounce back, at least to some degree. And then Yusei Kikuchi, not a great fifth starter there, but he does have some strikeout upside. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's as strong as their lineup, but I do like their starting rotation pretty well. Bullpen, definitely a step behind the Yankees, but yeah, I like the lineup better. I think the rotation, especially with the Yankees injuries, is kind of close to a wash. And then, yeah, a worse bullpen for the Blue Jays. But again, that's something that I think could more easily go either direction. I will say this about the Blue Jays, if you're talking fantasy, DFS, whatever, they did move the fences in considerably, especially in right center field. And then I think in left field as well. I can't remember exactly. They did raise the height of the fences, which will help mitigate, how many more home runs will be hit there. But it's going to lead to a lot more doubles and triples, with balls, hitting high off the wall in right center field. And I'll say this too: the Blue Jays aren't dumb. They know what their core is, right? With Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero, especially Dalton Varsho too. Now I think is a big part of their core. I think they specifically we see more teams do this now. We saw with the Orioles last year, move the fences to benefit their team in particular, right? You see Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero hit a lot of long fly balls out to right center field. They want home runs and doubles instead of long, 400-foot fly ball outs into right center field. So I think they specifically designed their ballpark to fit their young core, which I think is going to help them overall and specifically help the offense. I think this park, which played pretty neutral over the last 2 or 3 seasons, is going to be one of the better hitter parks in all of baseball now, which of course is going to help their hitters. But I'm a little hesitant, fly ball type pitchers like Gausman, Barrios, even Manoah to some extent. I think you could see them be hurt by the changes to the ballpark. So just something to be aware of, early on, maybe before projections adjust for people making DFS lineups and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a great point in moving the fences in, definitely to benefit the team, because we saw that the Orioles definitely did that last year, and
skyrocketed. You build your roster around the new lineup, right? I mean, True. Who you have and then who you go get as well.
True, yeah. So, I think the rotation definitely got better. Adding Chris Bassett, he had his exit velocity was top 5 in the majors last year. Manoah 2.24 ERA last year. Gausman, career lows in walks last year. He was on the wrong end of some luck, but then Barrios, Kikuchi 4 or 5. Obviously, both proven vets, but did struggle last year. Barrios still has 6 years left on his contract. God bless the Blue Jays for that one. He led the league in hits allowed and earned runs last year. Jordan Romano obviously made a name for himself. 59 saves the last 2 seasons for this team. Fastball slider mix there. Eric Swanson, who came over in the Teoscar Hernandez trade, he should be a key piece in this bullpen as well. He had the best ERA of his career last year with the Mariners. Yimi Garcia had a good season. They also got Chad Green over, who used to pitch on the Yankees. Anthony Bass, another bullpen. I think their bullpen will be a little better than you described, but we will see. As you mentioned, bullpens are the least sticky, as you said. I like that phrase, the least sticky. But Brandon Belt, another guy they added in the offseason. I don't really expect much from him as he's an aging vet. But Varsho should be big. He had 27 homers last year. Whit Merrifield, another guy they got right before the trade deadline. He'll have a full 162 on this team. And obviously, Vladdy Daddy, Bo Bichette, George Springer, all Hogs. They had 25 home runs before they moved the fences in, so that'll just even be better. The team, I think they'll be good. They will rival the Yankees to win the division, absolutely. Plus 200 to win the division is nice and juicy compared to plus 130 we're getting on the other side. Under set at 91.5 wins. This team won 92 games last year. Do we expect them to be a little bit better? Not playing as many, not playing the Yankees as many times this year. I'm going to stay away from it. I do find I like a better best bet in this division, but it's not a terrible bet.
Yeah, so, I think I would take the plus 200 or, if you can find a better number on the Blue Jays to win the division instead of the 91.5. I think just because I'm lower on the Yankees, right? So I do think if the Blue Jays go over that 91.5 number, they've got a pretty good chance to win the division. But yeah, if you really push me, I would take the over on that number. I just think this team kind of in a win now mode too. It would be a team, it's Vladdy and Bo Bichette's prime, right? I think it would be a team that potentially would add at the trade deadline if they're in the mix with the Yankees, and would go get whatever they needed to do. So yeah, I do like the Blue Jays quite a bit this year.
Awesome. All right, so next team I have up is the Rays. They did have the best rotation maybe left in the division with the 2 Hogs up top, Shea McClanahan and Tyler Glasnow. But right now, Glasnow, obviously, in Glasnow fashion, gets hurt and missed a couple months with an oblique injury. Zach Eflin, who they signed in the offseason, who we talked about, he is the highest paid Tampa Bay free agent. A little scary if you ask me, but I'll have DC talk about it a little later. Then Drew Rasmussen, who was good in his first season as a starter, 2.84 ERA. He throws a fastball, slider, cutter mix. Jeffrey Springs likely be the last starter, who they made him a full-time starter in May last year. He was especially good on righties, but His velocity is in the low 90s. It definitely scares me. The bullpen has been the strength of this team for years. By a committee role, I do think Fairbanks is the likely closer. Averaged 14 strikeouts per 9 innings last year, but he was limited because of injuries. Jason Adams, the other candidate to close, 1.56 ERA, struck out 77 batters while only walking 17 last season. They obviously have Jalen Breeks, Sean Armstrong. They did lose a couple relievers, basically out of the most people they lost and gained. They lost mainly relievers from this team last year, but I still think they will find pieces through there.
They will. They do every year. Yep.
Yeah, every year that happens. So lineup basically no additions. Wander Franco's only 22. I know I have him poised for a good year. Brandon Lowe should be back after only playing 65 games last year. He hit 39 home runs 2 years ago. Let's not forget about that. Randy Arozarena was amazing in the World Baseball Classic. Likely doesn't get enough attention. So G-Man Choi is basically the only offensive bat they lost. They got Yandy Diaz or prospect Jonathan Aranda will handle first base duties. Manny Margot, Isaac Paredes obviously round out the lineup, and then they have Jose Siri at the bottom, who's basically just a defensive guy. I mean, if this team stays healthy, I think they can compete. Glasnow is a real question mark. You know, that's a big hog to be missing for how long if he's out. Plus 270 to win the division isn't too far-fetched. 89.5 over-under wins. I'll likely pass on it, but you could probably get a better number live if you wanted to. But what do you think about the Rays this year?
Yeah, I mean, the Rays kind of always overachieve. It does seem like the Vegas lines are adjusting a little bit, right, with the 89.5 over-under on the wins. I have DraftKings plus 340, I think, to win the division is the number I'm looking at right now. I don't mind it. I mean, when you look at the lineup, it doesn't look all that impressive just in terms of the name value, but you got to remember the Rays, one of, if not the smartest, analytically inclined organizations in all baseball. I mean, they compete every year, it seems like, with the Yankees, Blue Jays, and Red Sox, despite, a payroll that's like a third of the Yankees, something like that. Pretty crazy that they're able to compete. I don't really see any reason to expect differently. They just get the most out of their players, playing matchups. The bullpen is always awesome, no matter who they have. I think Fairbanks, if he can stay healthy, could be the best reliever in all of baseball, frankly. Another guy that I released on my tweets today, you can get him to lead the league MLB in saves at 55-1. The Rays do have a history of kind of doing the closer by committee thing, but when Fairbanks was healthy last year, he was the guy for them. And I think he's so good that potentially they'll just let him go if he can stay healthy. So I do like that bet. Obviously a long shot, but one that I do like at 55-1, one that, of course, I've bet myself. The rotation, yeah, McClanahan's a stud. We'll see with Glasnow. He's had such a long history of injuries that, I don't think you can really pencil him in for any more than, 100 innings. But he will be very, very good when he is on the mound. So I do think there's some upside there. Zach Eflin, you mentioned, his stuff, I've always thought he's kind of underrated. I don't think the Phillies kind of got the most out of him. And then to see the Rays give him the biggest free agent contract they've given any pitcher, and I think maybe any player overall. Yep. I mean, you got to think they know what they're doing. I mean, they're giving out I think they gave out one big free agent contract the entire offseason. It was kind of a shock to everybody, but is clearly a guy that their metrics targeted for someone that they thought they could turn into a good starting pitcher. So he's been one guy I've been very in on season-long fantasy stuff. I do expect him to pitch well. Jeffrey Springs, another guy I think to keep a close eye on. He was kind of, another Rays guy that comes out of nowhere. They have a couple of them every year. He was awesome last year, but his spring training stats, you want to take these, of course, with a grain of salt, but they are eye-popping. Didn't allow a run in 14 innings, 24 strikeouts to 2 walks over those 14 innings. So 0 ERA, 0.5 whip. Opponents hit 109 against him, striking everybody out. And that's off the back of a really strong season. So all signs are pointing to Jeffrey Springs coming out of the gate super hot. Rasmussen can pitch as well. And, they've got probably some pitchers coming up through the pipeline as well. And if Glasnow can get back to the rotation healthy, I think there's a lot of upside in that rotation too. So, yeah, kind of a matter of if they can score enough runs, I would say, is the Rays' issue. But, again, Wander Franco, I feel like he's kind of flying under the radar a little bit this year, but it wasn't long ago when he was the consensus #1 prospect in all of baseball, ahead of guys like Julio Rodriguez. So he's got upside to be a truly, fantastic all-star type player for the Rays. Maybe can lead that offense a little bit. So I like this team. I like the plus 340 to win the division. It's probably my favorite bet here to win the division. And yeah, I'll take the over on the 89.5 wins as well.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So next is either the Orioles or the Red Sox. I'll let you go first. Which one you want to talk about? You can go whatever one you want.
We'll start with the Red Sox, who I think are going to suck this year.
Yeah.
I just don't see much here. They obviously lost Xander Bogaerts to free agency to the Padres. They did give the big contract to Rafael Devers. They got Masataka Yoshida over from Japan. He looks like he should be pretty good, but I don't know if he's going to be a huge difference maker, maybe a 2-3 WAR type player. Man, beyond that, like Justin Turner is old. Verdugo, to me, kind of just a guy, right? Not a lot of power or speed. And then the bottom half of that lineup, Duvall, Casas, Arroyo, Reese McGuire, and Kike Hernandez.
Yeah.
No thanks. I don't see much depth on this team. The rotation is old. I mean, Chris Sale, we haven't seen – he looked pretty good in spring, but we haven't seen him throw more than 50 innings since, pre-pandemic. It's been a long time. He randomly breaks his wrist or his ribs. I just think he's too old and kind of too frail. He's 34 now. I would be shocked if Sale was able to hold up for anything close to even 150 innings. I mean, I'd probably take the under on 100 innings, to be honest, for Chris Sale. Corey Kluber, starting opening day, I mean, way, way past his prime. And then beyond that, you've got Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford, and Nick Pivetta. I don't really see it with the rotation. And, I mean, a couple of injuries. It could get really, really ugly for them. Kenley Jansen, another old as dirt guy, leading the bullpen. This team, even if they stay healthy, which I think there is almost no chance they do, I don't think would be that great. I think the fact that they're the Red Sox are what's their total? Is it close to 500, I'm guessing?
Yep, 78.5.
Yeah, I think the under on that, man. I think the Red Sox are going to be bad. I wouldn't be shocked to see them be sellers at the trade deadline. Maybe get Kluber or Sale out of there. I just don't see it with this team whatsoever. I think it's going to be ugly for them. They got Trevor Story. He's already out probably for the entire year. Got Adalberto Mondesi. Again, another guy that can't stay healthy. Yeah, I'm out on the Red Sox. I'd be surprised if they had a good season.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the Orioles will be better than them this year.
Yep.
They did add Adam Duvall, another guy who'll slot in the middle of the lineup, but he doesn't exactly scare me. Yoshida, as you mentioned, he hit 326, 135 homers in 7 seasons in the Japan Pacific League. How does that translate to MLB? We're going to see. He'll probably struggle out the gate, I would imagine. And then Tristan Casas, another guy who he did show some poise last year down the stretch. He'll likely be the starting first baseman into the regular season. But as you mentioned, from an offensive side, the bottom of the lineup is terrible. And they can't stay healthy. Starting pitching, Chris Sale, he's pitched 11 starts since 2020. Kluber has pitched on every team in the fucking division. This is he's the opening day starter. Nick Pivetta led the AL in starts last year, 33 starts. So maybe we can knock on wood and get him to stay healthy, but he wasn't great. That's for damn sure. And Howard and Cutter Crawford are not names you want to back. That's for sure. Kenley Jansen, when they signed him as a Yankee fan, I was happy because if you watched him the last couple of years, he has been very, very shaky. He has no velocity left on the fastball.
He's one, too, that, for those, I think most people know by now, but the new pitch clock rules, nobody took more time between pitches than Kenley Jansen. I think one thing, one kind of underrated part of that rule, especially for closers, a lot of them gather their stamina, for 25, 30, 35 seconds between pitches to kind of give it all they can for each and every pitch. That's what Jansen does, to keep his velocity even where it was. I think with the pitch clock, he's one guy that I think could really suffer from that.
Yeah, I agree. And then, I mean, their bullpen was decent last year, but the 2 years prior, their bullpen was terrible. I think it's kind of going to revert. They have like one good guy, John Shriver in there. He is a side armor. He had his best year of his career last year, under 2.25 ERA. But then like they had Chris Martin's in there. He's 36. He had his best strikeout rate. His strikeout rate almost doubled last year. I expect that not to happen again. Ryan Brazier, Richard Bleer, another guy who pitched on the Yankees, the Orioles, now the Red Sox. I'm pretty sure he pitched on the Rays too. A lefty, slow-throwing lefty, another guy who takes time in between pitches. So I don't think this team's going to be very good. 78.5 wins. That's basically 500, as you mentioned. I'm definitely not getting behind that. So I'm staying away from the Red Sox, that's for sure. So last but not least, definitely is the Orioles. This team is young, should definitely compete in the coming years. Pitching staff really benefit from the fences moving back, as I mentioned earlier. And then like the big question mark is really the rotation going into this year. I think opening day starter is going to be Kyle Gibson, who is obviously a vet. He's pitched on a lot of different teams. And then past that, we got Kyle Bradish, Dean Kramer, who did get a lot of experience last year. Bradish made 23 starts, nasty slider, but he has trouble locating the zone. Kramer, much better control. This will be year 3 for Kramer. So he had much better control last year compared to his rookie year. He limited exit velocity as well. Then it's really like Cole Irvin, a lefty who they got over from the Phillies. Top pitching prospect Grayson Rodriguez will likely get starts, but I'm pretty sure they sent him down to start the season. Yeah, so and he'll likely have an innings limit on him because he was hurt last year and only pitched 75 innings. Obviously, he's really good, has great command, great velocity on his fastball, mixes secondary pitches, but I don't expect much of him. The bullpen anchored by Felix Bautista throws maybe the best split finger fastball in baseball. Then Mikael Givens. Dylan Tate should get innings, but this was a strength of their team last year, the bullpen. Again, this is in question. I do think it'll be quite, it'll be a middle of the pack as it was last year. The lineup will be a little stronger. Obviously, full season of Gunnar Henderson, who will play third base, shortstop if need be, and he has 30 homer upside. Adley Rutschman lived up to the hype last year as a rookie. He'll be an all-star very soon, in my opinion. Cedric Mullins, Ryan Mountcastle, both had down years last year. I do expect a little better out of them. Santander hit 33 homers last year. Should be near that number again. And then the bottom of the lineup, again, it's really more defensive-wise for this team as well. Austin Hayes, Adam Frazier, who they got over. Kyle Stowers should be in there as well. So they should look to move this team in the right direction. They do have a lot of vets. Omar Mazzara, in that they signed to minor league deals, who could get a call up in case they're needed. 76.5 wins is their under-over. This team won 83 games last year, and they play less games in the division. I think they get better. So my best bet for this division preview will be over 76.5 wins for the Baltimore Orioles. What do you think about the Orioles, DC?
Yeah, I don't think they're quite ready. And it mostly has to do with the pitching staff. Like, I do think – they've got 2 potential superstars in the middle of that lineup, and Adley Rutschman at catcher and Gunnar Henderson at third base slash shortstop. So they do have, if those guys develop as they could, right? If those guys, put up big seasons, yeah, maybe the Orioles can get it done. But man, this pitching staff, like Kyle Gibson as your SP1 opening day guy, I mean, let's be realistic. He's a SP5, SP4 at best.
Yeah.
For a true contender. Kramer, Cole Irvin, they got him from the A's. They clearly got him. He's a lefty who gives up a lot of fly balls to right-handed hitters, but they got the huge or far away fences in left field. So that was kind of a clear signing to try to take advantage of the park. But he's really not all that good of a pitcher. He benefited last year too from pitching in a great pitcher's park in Oakland. If you look at his splits, he was pretty damn good at home and just dreadful on the road. I think he's going to have a rough time when he goes to Yankee Stadium or Toronto or Boston or really any time he's pitching away from home. Bradish, I think, has talent, but, I wouldn't certainly expect like under a 4 ERA or anything from him. I think it'd be okay. Tyler Wells, just a dude. Grayson Rodriguez, like the reports coming into camp, spring training, were that he's going to make the team, that they're going to give him every opportunity to pitch his way onto the squad. He wasn't good enough. He had a 7 ERA over 7 in his 15 to 18 innings, whatever it was. They sent him down because he didn't earn the job, which I do think certainly the long-term talent is still there. But when you can't crack a rotation of Gibson, Kramer, Irvin, Bradish, and Wells, it's a little bit concerning, right? For sure. So, yeah, we'll see what we get from him this year, but potentially not much. You mentioned the innings limitation. That's definitely true. And he's starting the year at AAA, where he's going to use up however many portion of that innings. I mean, it's a concern. They wanted him to be in the rotation. He wasn't good enough to do it. So that's kind of a big concern right off the bat. I love Felix Bautista, their closer, but again, I mean, he's a wild dude. Awesome fastball splitter, like you said. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him kind of implode. I don't love the rest of the bullpen, honestly. I don't mind the over on that number because I do think the Orioles want to take a step forward this year. And I think this division in general, maybe not quite as strong as it normally is. I have my questions, like I said, about the Yankees and the Red Sox especially. So, yeah, I don't mind the over on that 76.5, but I just don't think they're quite ready to truly compete. You do see that reflected in that plus 2,500 number to win this division.
Yeah. Shout out the chat. We got a lot of people in the chat commenting. Bogues, great food. Modern Park. Yeah, Ray. Bogues is great. Stevie Boyton, Vegas Bruce. Kurt says the Red Sox are tanking for Wemby. Yeah. Johnny Mangini, Tyler. Appreciate you guys. Chris. Rogue Energy. Appreciate you guys hanging out. So, DC, do you have a best bet you want to give to the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, it would be Rays to win the division at plus 340 on DraftKings. That would be the division bet. But also, actually, my best bet is Volpe to lead the MLB in steals at plus 2,500.
So, guys, write that down because last year when we did this, both DC and myself, mainly DC, gave out some fucking killer plus, over plus 20-1 dogs. And
I've had a good history with some big dogs on regular season awards. So
yeah. So this is the fun stuff. Obviously, don't unload the bank account.
No.
Half unit, a unit.
Don't tie up your whole bankroll in a 25-1 6-month bet. That's exactly
yeah, for real. Yeah. So half unit, quarter unit, whatever floats your boat. But I'll put it in. My best bet will be the Orioles over 76.5 wins. It's minus 110. So just one unit on that. Otherwise, hit the like button before you get out of here. If you want to guys sign up, Run Pure Bets, Run Pure Sports. I have my own promo code now. WORK, WERK 15 to sign up. Otherwise, we're going to drop a video tomorrow again for another division. We appreciate you all. Thanks, DC, for coming to hang out. We're out. Peace.